All right, welcome. I appreciate you guys taking the time to be here. And tonight we're going to be talking about some heart health, cardiovascular health. There's a lot of misconceptions out there about what it means to be heart healthy and how do you even know if you're heart healthy. There's a lot of fears and frustrations people have. Do I have heart disease? And do I need to be on statin drugs, which is what the medical profession is really pushing hard these days. Does anybody here know what the #1 most common first symptom of heart disease is? Some people say that, some people say, you know, chest pain, dizziness. How about sudden death?
No, that would be.
It's it. 40% of the people who have heart disease don't know it until they suddenly drop dead.
Yeah.
And I've seen that. I'm 61, but I have friends in their 50s. I've known in the last 3 years 5 men, all 50, that just suddenly dropped dead. And we have all heard of people who have gone to their medical doctor and gotten an examination and they were given a clean bill of health and 3 days later they dropped dead of a heart attack. So how do you really know if that's going on? So we're going to hopefully shed some light on that today. And then cholesterol, that's a big controversial subject. We're going to clear some of that up for you today too. And we're going to go through some of the common and more significant blood chemistry markers that people need to look at when they're looking at blood chemistry. Does anybody here looked at their own blood chemistry on the lipid panel?
Yep.
Okay, so you have some familiarity with that. And then we'll talk obviously about natural solutions because that's what we do here. So first I want to start by reading a couple of little quotes here I think are significant. This one, cholesterol, myth, hoax, scam. Saturated fat and cholesterol in the diet are not the cause of coronary heart disease. That myth is the greatest scientific deception of this century, perhaps any century. And this is quoted by Dr. Mann, MD, George Mann. He's professor of medicine and biochemistry at Vanderbilt University, and that was quoted back in 1991, 25 years ago. So they've known about this for a long time, and we're still just being pumped full of statin drugs. I see it all the time. So there's another part I want to share with you. It's right here. And that is top causes of death in the U.S. So cardiovascular disease, including stroke, is #1. Over almost 850,000 people die every year in this country from heart disease. Cancer is #2. And then our medical system is #3. In other words, reaction to prescription drugs, surgeries, hospital infections, and so on. And those statistics come from JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association. The other ones are chronic lower respiratory diseases and then unintentional injuries. So cardiovascular health is still the #1 most common cause of death in this country. So let's talk about cholesterol. You know, there was a time when a level of 240 was considered normal. But a few years ago, a few doctors got together and the powers that be decided to lower that level to 200 so that they could sell more statin drugs. The doctors, 7 out of 8 of the doctors on that panel had financial interests in the drug companies. So nowadays, doctors, if they see a cholesterol that's anywhere near 200, they want to lower it. They want to put you on a statin drug. But if you look here, look what happens. Cholesterol below 180 levels are associated with 200 increase in cerebral vascular accidents, that's a brain bleed, the 300% increase in liver cancer, 200% increase in lung disease, 200 increase in depression and suicides, and 200% increase in addictive behavior. So, how important is cholesterol? Well, let me tell you. I'm glad you asked. All right. So, you cannot go without cholesterol. It's the basic raw material made by the liver, the brain, and almost every cell in the body. Enzymes convert it to vitamin D. And you know, low levels of vitamin D result in depression, right? And then also steroid hormones, such as sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and stress hormones and bile salts for digesting and absorbing fats. So cholesterol is essential for all of those different chemicals. And it also makes up a major part of membranes surrounding cells, hence the importance of fat for immune function, because every cell in the body has a lipid or cholesterol layer that protects the cell from viral attack and bacterial attack, free radical attack as well. Free radicals are precancerous agents. The brain is particularly rich in cholesterol and accounts for about 1/4 of all the cholesterol that we have in our bodies. Excuse me. The fatty myelin sheath, that's the sheath or the covering layer around nerves that help promote nerve impulse transmission, is made up of cholesterol. It's about 1/5 cholesterol. Neuronal communications depend on cholesterol, that's nerve transmission. It's not surprising that a connection has been found between naturally occurring cholesterol and mental function. Lower levels are linked to poor cognitive performance. Memory loss is one potential side effect of cholesterol-lowering drugs. And cholesterol plays a big role in helping fight bacterial infection as well. So immune function, bacterial prevention are all extremely, you have to have good fat in your body. So when the doctors tell you avoid saturated fats, eat more grains and fruits and vegetables, and limit the amount of saturated fat, that's old information. That's old school thinking. So what we recommend in order to really maintain a healthy cardiovascular system is you have to get good quality fat in your body. And that means animal source of fat, that's meat, fish, chicken, eggs. Butter is really important. Good, healthy, good quality organic butter. We recommend, and on the third sheet on your handout has a list of the good quality fats that you can eat. You guys were looking for that already. At the very last sheet, you'll see where it lists butter, coconut oil, sesame seed oil, olive oil. It's important to know that you shouldn't be heating up olive oil too much. You can tolerate a high heat on coconut oil, avocado oil, and but watch out for heating up olive oil too much. Stay away from canola oil; it's heavily processed. And then there's other information on that sheet. It shows the levels of protein, or the types of protein: meat, fish, chicken, eggs. Now, some people do have an allergy to eggs, and we can actually muscle test and determine if a patient is sensitive or has food allergies around eggs. And then it shows also the lower glycemic fruits listed on the bottom left. Those are the lower sugar content fruits. Bananas are going to be super high in sugar. Any kind of dried fruit is going to be loaded with sugar. So what is it that causes cholesterol to be elevated? Anyone want to take a guess? It's not the saturated fat that we're eating. You can eat all the fat you want, it's not going to raise your cholesterol. It's the sugar. It's the carbohydrate. So, limiting your carbohydrate, and if you look at the 3 rules on the top of that sheet, those are the most important things to know. The very first one is eliminate pasta, breads, white potatoes, and rice. If you take those out alone, that is going to have a huge impact on lowering the particular type of cholesterol that's the most important one in terms of promoting heart disease, and that's the triglyceride. You've all heard of triglycerides. If you look at a blood panel, you get the total cholesterol, you get the LDL, the HDL, triglycerides. The triglyceride number is clinically the most significant number to look at. If that's elevated, then you're in the danger zone. Elevated meaning it should be about half of your total cholesterol. So if your total cholesterol is 240, that should be around 120. LDL should be about 100 points below your total cholesterol, or around 120. HDLs we want elevated about 55 or higher. That's they call the good cholesterol. When the LDL number is high, that means that's the protein or cholesterol that carries the cholesterol, transports it from the liver out to the body where there's inflammation. It helps to put out the fire and helps to promote healing. So the reason we get cholesterol plaquing in the arteries is because if we're eating too much carbohydrates, the insulin, the body's response in the pancreas is pumping out insulin to get that sugar into the cells. It overproduces insulin, mainly because we overeat the sugar. So you get this excess insulin floating around in the bloodstream, and it actually irritates and damages the walls of the blood vessels. So what's the healing response to that? The body brings in cholesterol to help heal the inside lumen, or the inside surface of the blood vessel walls, hence the cholesterol plaquing. So it's called Syndrome X, or hyperinsulinemia. And too much sugar, and it doesn't have to be white sugar products, it can be the complex carbs too. Too much of that is going to cause that insulin response, which will over time lead to diabetes, obesity, heart disease. So it's the sugar that's the poison, not the cholesterol, not the saturated fat, and not even the salt. There's information I have here on salt too. For many, many years, the doctors have been telling people, limit your salt intake. What we recommend is that you use sea salt, and we usually recommend that patients take about a teaspoon of salt in water, mix it up and drink it every day, because the sea salt, Celtic sea salt, is loaded with minerals that can calm your nervous system and also help with fluid balances in the body.
Could you put that in your shake?
You could if you want, sure.
But it might make it too salty.
Well, a little bit of it you probably can get away with without really tasting it too strongly. So, but I just drink it. And a teaspoon in an 8-ounce glass of water, it actually tastes pretty good. It's not like super salty. And sometimes I get a little heavy on the salt and it still tastes good. So, because I know it's such a great natural food loaded with minerals. By the way, mineral deficiency is probably the number one most common deficiency, nutritional deficiency we have in this country, because our soils are so depleted of minerals. So unless you're really loading up with good organic vegetables a lot, which most people are not, we're mineral deficient.
What's the difference between sea salt and regular salt?
Well,
it
regular
work?
salts usually has iodine pulled out of it. Iodine's real important for thyroid function. And by the way, hypothyroid is another cause, low thyroid is another cause of elevated cholesterol. So if your thyroid's low, if you're not getting enough iodine, and a lot of people have thyroid issues because they're iodine deficient, and I have lots of people on iodine, and it really turns them around quickly. So you want salt that's got all the minerals in it. And the regular table salt doesn't do it. It's all been depleted. All right, so what do we do for all this? Now, has anybody here ever done the 21-day purification program? Good for you. You win a star. It's an amazing cleanse, purification, if you want to call it that. It's 21 days. The shake that some of you had tonight is part of that program. It's not a fast. You're actually eating specific food through the entire process. But the supplements that you're taking help to draw chemicals and toxins and hormones, excess hormones, out of your system that do so many harmful things to the body. Excess estrogens cause cancer, excess heavy metals, all the stuff we're exposed to in our air and our water and in our food all gets mobilized. It helps to heal up your digestive system, helps to clean out your liver so you can process and break down and emulsify your fats, which will control your cholesterol as well. It helps to clear your head. A lot of people have brain fog just because they're so toxic. It helps with sleep patterns. It helps to calm down the adrenals. It helps to clean out the kidneys as well. So it's an amazing program. I've done it many times. I have one gal and we did her cholesterol just before and just after the purification, and that's all she did was the purification during that time. Her cholesterol came down 50 points in 3 weeks. She also lost about 20 pounds. So it's not a weight loss program, but the natural side effect is, once we get rid of all these toxins, is weight loss and mental clarity. Nutritional support. As you can see, we've got a number of great products available. But there are certain things that patients should be on long-term to really help promote heart health and safeguard against cardiovascular accident. One of them is garlic through MediHerb. It's the most potent garlic on the market. And all you need to do is take 1 tablet of garlic a day, and that's one of the best things you can do to maintain a healthy heart. There's other things we have. If you have an issue with gallbladder, liver, gallbladder, digesting your fats, we have products that help to restore normal function of the gallbladder, so you start breaking down your fats. There's an herb called hawthorn that really helps also to mobilize plaquing out of your arteries. Cyruta Plus helps to enhance the integrity of the blood vessels, the circulatory system. So there's a number of different products, and each patient is really individual on that. What we do is we do a testing, we do muscle testing, and we also have a Zyto bioscanner here that we use to really detect what's going on a biochemical level with each individual patient. So there's a number of products that we have that are proven effective for really helping to prevent cardiovascular issue. Proper diet, we just talked about that, taking out the pasta, bread, white potatoes, and rice, really limiting your carbohydrate intake. When you're doing the cleanse, by the way, you are eating food, the 21-day purification. You're eating fruits and vegetables, and there's a specific list, and you can have 2 times the amount of vegetables that you do of fruit. There's specific fruit on the list. You're also eating protein during that time, but you're eliminating any processed foods, you're eliminating alcohol, tobacco, caffeine, dairy, wheat, and nuts. And you're taking those out for the entire, did you not do that?
It's hard to give up nuts.
I know. Nut butter, you know, the thing is nuts are hard to break down. So
You can
just
have
keep-
nut butter?
yeah, it's a little easier. I'll tell people to have nut butter if the nuts are broken up.
Oh.
I'll do almond butter sometimes, you know, ground up. So, but in moderation, you know, certainly not peanuts. Peanuts are very allergenic. But it's a great way of just getting your body cleaned out and functioning and normalizing your blood chemistry. A lot of things will change with the 21-day purification. And then there's the E word, exercise. Now a lot of people come in and they can't exercise because they're in so much pain. They can't. It hurts them just move the joints. To even go for a walk is painful. So once the patient gets to the point where they're more mobile, like you, then you know you can join a gym and get a trainer. I see her at the gym with her trainer. She's pretty amazing. So these are the most effective ways of dealing with cardiovascular issues and helping to prevent an event, prevent the event. Do you guys have any questions?
I had a question about, on the 21-day diet, I think one of the things you're supposed to give up is eggs, and what is the reason for that?
Well, again, for some people, eggs are they're an allergen.
Okay.
They're allergic to them. But again, we can test patients for eggs. And if they test fine, then I say have eggs. Have hard-boiled eggs to snack on,
Right.
you know.
Okay.
I have not run into many people who are truly allergic to eggs, but I did have one just the other day. She told me I ate an egg and I just swelled up. I tested her and sure enough, she was super sensitive. But I've not seen many at all. So eggs are great. Whole food, good source of saturated fat and protein, obviously, and good cholesterol. Eggs are not going to raise your cholesterol. What raises your cholesterol?
Sugar.
Sugar.
That's the main thing I wanted you to get tonight.
Yeah.
And the cholesterol myth. By the way, if you see a blood panel, if I saw a blood panel where the cholesterol was like a 130, and a lot of doctors want to get it that low with statin drugs, that's a sign that there's a cancer going on somewhere. So that's why these immune issues come up if the cholesterol gets too low. It is your immune system fighter.
I'm in great health.
So if there aren't any more questions, that's really, I mean, that's the long and short
I
of it.
have one question about
Yes.
the 20-day purification, the container, the powder.
Yeah.
Does it hold one container? Is that for 21 days? Does that?
Usually not. Usually it takes about 1.5 containers, but
Okay.
I tell patients Obviously, it depends on how many shakes you're doing in a day.
Mhm.
If you're doing 3 shakes a day and you're really doing heaping scoops of that
Yeah,
stuff,
1.5.
you'll go through 2 containers.
Okay.
But most people have some in the end, and just about everybody continues on with the product,
Yeah,
like long term. It's just
Yeah.
a great source of nutrients.
yeah.
Um,